Hi, I'm Jessica Lahr, and this is a look at your weather for the Halloween weekend ahead in the Finger Lakes. Friday will be cool with a high of 48, but should be dry with the exception of a brief morning shower. Friday night we'll see temperatures drop into the mid-30s before a gorgeous late autumn day Saturday under partly sunny skies with a high in the low 50s. Your trick-or-treat forecast will be a hit or miss. Clouds will move in late in the day Saturday and bring a chance of showers in the evening. You will want to dress warm as Saturday night's low will be in the lower 40s. On Sunday, the first day of November, temperatures will rebound to near 60 with a 50% chance of showers. The early forecast for next week is looking like a warm start to November with daytime highs in the mid-60s on Monday and Tuesday. Don't forget to change your clocks back before you go to bed on Sunday night. For the complete forecast and live radar, visit our Weather Center online at fingerlakes1.com or on the free Finger Lakes One Android or iPhone app. There might not be a better time of year to capture images of the Finger Lakes. Here are our staff picks for the top 5 local photos of the week. At number 5, the moon has been incredible over the past few nights. Here, Janelle Hurst caught the rising of the full moon early Monday evening over Cayuga Lake. In the 4th spot, Carl Higgins captured a serene, peaceful morning scene on Cayuga Lake as seen from Hammondsport with the sun peeking through a break in the clouds. At 3, a spectacular double rainbow over a farm in Genoa in Cayuga County on Friday, captured by Richard Lahr White. Brilliant. At number 2, a fantastic photo by Diane Dersch from the north end of Owasco Lake in Auburn last Friday morning. The fall colors were at their peak along the calm Owasco waters. And our top photo of the week, an absolutely stunning late October view of Cayuga Lake looking north from Hammondsport by Deanna Lawrence. Truly a great example of why the Finger Lakes is among the most beautiful places on the planet in any season. You can check out all these photos and many more and learn how to share your own local photos with our users here at fingerlakes1.com by visiting our local photos page on our homepage or app. Maybe you'll find your photo in next week's Top 5. Halloween weekend is here in the Finger Lakes, and here are your top 5 local events over the next few days. Kicking things off at number 5, the Clifton Springs Chamber of Commerce is hosting a spooktacular Halloween party that is open to all on Friday, featuring a hayride, haunted house, games, pumpkin decorating, cupcakes, and candy from downtown merchants. The full schedule can be found at cliftonsprings.chamber.com. At number 4, check out a scary movie at one of the many local theaters in the Finger Lakes. The Last Witch Hunter, Goosebumps, and Hotel Transylvania are all Halloweeny movies playing throughout the weekend. For a rundown of all the movies playing this weekend, along with showtimes at theaters close to you, click on Movie Times at our homepage or on the fingerlakes1.com app. Coming in at number 3, Muggles and wizarding folk alike are encouraged to visit the Smith Opera House in Geneva on Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday, as it is transformed into a Hogwarts away from Hogwarts. Enjoy all 8 of the Harry Potter films over 3 days. A variety of activities, food, and fun will be available throughout the weekend. More information is online at thesmith.org. At number 2, if you've ever wanted to learn how to carve pumpkins like a pro, Saturday morning is your chance. Work with the New York Wine and Culinary Center's lead chef instructor to create works of art from simple squash. This isn't your typical pumpkin carving. Chef Jeffrey will show you how to use standard culinary tools to create carvings from various types of produce. Potatoes to butternut squash, pumpkins to cantaloupe. Learn the art of sculpting just in time to showcase your masterpiece at your Halloween party. More details are online at nywcc.com. And our top local event recommendation of the weekend is Scarial Adventures Halloween Headlamp Tours at Bristol Mountain Aerial Adventures. Join your friends for a night of fun and frights on Friday or Saturday on the haunted zip lines and eerie bridges at the summit of Bristol Mountain. With 3 spooky aerial adventure courses, you can learn more online and make reservations at bristolmountainadventures.com. Everyone, be safe this weekend and good luck on the trick-or-treat trails. Finally, our own Jim Sinacropi was able to talk with a true legend of Hollywood this week when Jimmy Hawkins called in studio to talk about his earliest role as Tommy Bailey in the holiday classic It's a Wonderful Life, and his amazing career in the entertainment industry that followed.
Hey, Jim Sinacropi here inside the FingerLakes1.com studios. In 1946, Jimmy Hawkins was personally chosen by Frank Capra to play Tommy Bailey, the youngest of the Bailey children in It's a Wonderful Life. He was 4.5 years old, and then by the time he was 10, he had appeared in over 40 movies. Now, a new exhibit chronicling his multifaceted career entitled Tommy Bailey and More will officially open at the Seneca Falls It's a Wonderful Life Museum on October 28th of this year at 32 Fall Street downtown. And I'm fortunate enough to have Mr. Hawkins on the phone with us right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the ties between It's a Wonderful Life and Seneca Falls, and then his amazing career that kind of jump-started with the Frank Capra Holiday Classic that was based here in Seneca Falls, New York. So, Jimmy Hawkins, I have him on the line right now. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I'm doing real fine now. Thank you for having me on your shows. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's an honor for me to be able to talk to you. It's a Wonderful Life is certainly one of my favorite movies, and it's just one of the many, many, many film credits, producing credits, acting credits, music credits. It's amazing the amount of people that you've come across in your career in Hollywood and beyond. And do you have fond memories of It's a Wonderful Life, the filming and everybody involved with that?
Yes, I do. It's strange. I have some very vivid memories of It's a Wonderful Life. I remember my mom getting me up very early in the morning. It was still dark. And then we took buses and the streetcars to Culver City, to the RKO Pathé lot where we shot all the interiors for It's a Wonderful Life. That was the stage 14 was the Bailey's home, interior of the home. And I remember getting up and going on the streetcar and buses to the studio and coming onto the stage. And stages back then had a particular odor to them. And I can only explain it like it was a cookie odor. It was very special, and I look forward to just walking in on that stage and smelling that, and then going over to the Bailey house, and outside they had real snow out there, and of course inside was a beautiful Christmas tree, and people were buzzing around the set doing what they do, and then they took us to wardrobe and makeup. You know, kids didn't have much makeup back then, but then went to the schoolhouse on the set there, and ready for them to call us and do whatever we do.
Isn't it amazing, though, how something like the way it smelled can stick with you after all these years? You can probably vividly recall the way that smelled.
Sure, and it was all sound stages wherever I went, and then when I got to be 20-something, that kept fading further and further away, and now you don't smell it at all. It's just something I don't know, but it was a great memory. I have just wonderful memories of doing the movie and Frank Capra taking his time talking to me of what he wanted me to do in a particular scene. He would squat down and talk to me one-on-one, face-to-face, tell me exactly what he wanted and ask me if I understood what he was saying. And I told him I did, and we went through all the different scenes, and I guess they were very happy with what they got. Nobody at the time knew that this picture would ever turn out like it did turn out.
Sure, and it was several years after the film was released, and it was nominated for an Academy Award, but it didn't really receive cult status and iconic status until decades
That's
after
correct.
it was filmed.
Until the middle 70s, when somebody at the studio forgot to pick up the copyright, and it fell into public domain, and that meant that stations all over the country could show it for free, and they took advantage of that.
Sure, absolutely.
So I just grew from there. It became cult classic, and then people were sitting around having trivia games about the movie, and just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, of course, the American Film Institute voted it the most inspirational movie of all time. And it was wonderful that Frank Capra got to see that, because he spent 4 or 5 years in World War II. Then when he got out, he was looking for projects, and he found this one, and he heard the idea, read the 3 scripts that had been written before, and then, of course, the Christmas card that the studio bought in order to base all this on. And what struck him most of all was in the Christmas card. He said it was the greatest idea I'd ever heard. A man gets to see what life would have been like if he had never been born. And that's what he took from the Christmas card. And then he hired writers, Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett, to do the screenplay, and it grew from there. And he brought all those elements of Bedford Falls to the screenplay, but all based on that idea that a man gets to see what life would have been like if he had never been born. That's the only thing in the card that he took.
Well, I'll tell you, I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and my mother was wrapping Christmas presents, and she had the beginning of the movie on, and she didn't ask me to watch. I was just kind of sitting there, and I was drawn in by the film, and I had no idea, the premise or the plot. I was just 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
But I couldn't take my eyes off it. At the end of the movie, it was became my favorite movie even as a youngster. It was it's inspirational. It resonated with me as a young child here in Seneca Falls, and that was the first of probably 150 times that I've seen the film. So,
oh, that's great. Yeah, it really is a very moving picture, and it shows that we're all important. And
right.
The theme of the movie is that each man's life touches so many others. If they weren't around, it would leave an awful hole.
Mm-hmm.
And people see that in the movie and feel that maybe they've done something in their life that's important that they didn't even know about. You could just smile at somebody at a signal or something,
sure.
And that person's whole life was changed that day, and you were there to do that. And it's just a great theme and great thing to live by and try to touch lives for the better every day.
So now, was your positive experience with that production at such a young age, did that make you fall in love with the industry? For instance, if your first big project like that as a youngster was maybe something that wasn't as enjoyable, or the people involved weren't enjoyable, do you think you still would have gone on to such a Um,
Well, it's funny. I did like 40 movies by the late 40s, and then television came in, and it's interesting because I got a part on one of the first family shows on television called The Ruggles.
hmm
It was on for 3.5 years, and it was one job. I got the part, and 3.5 years later, I was still doing it. And that series ended, and I went on an interview to play the part of Annie Oakley's brother, Tag Oakley, in a proposed TV series. And I went there, and I got that job, and that lasted 6 years. So I just always worked.
and
And
that role,
then I was at an awkward age, I say, and up came the Donna Reed show, and they were looking for a boyfriend for the daughter, Shelley Fabre, Mary Stone. And I got that. And for the next 8 years, I was doing that show as a semi-regular. And it just happened. I always worked. I just never stopped. So what was not to like? You know,
Sure.
you get to go and you get to meet these people. I'm on the set over at Columbia doing a movie, and I get a call from my agent that Ozzie Nelson wants to meet me. And I went, wow, oh, well, this is great. I mean, and I went over and met him, and he said, I'd like you to be on our show. Would you like to do it? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've always wanted to do the Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. I grew up with it. So it's just been one thing after another, and, hoping to make these different transitions so that you can be older, and leave all the boyfriends and the high school parts behind you. And then I got a call that the producers and director wanted to meet me on an Elvis movie. I thought, oh, wow.
You're meeting all these just absolute world-famous icons in the entertainment industry.
Behind the camera, too, Joe Pasternak was just an icon at MGM, making some of their greatest movies they ever made. So you're sitting in a room with him and the director, and they're explaining this part to you to persuade you to do it. And it was just always great, just meeting Ozzie Nelson and Harriet and Ricky and David, going through those years on that show for 4 seasons. Then while I wasn't doing those, I may be doing the Donna Reed show or Leave It to Beaver, or a series called Ichabod and Me that the producers of Leave It to Beaver were doing. And it was just great, just going out there and being on a sound stage and enjoying working with people that everybody grew up with. And here I have the opportunity of actually meeting them and working with them.
Yeah.
And I've just had a wonderful career. Just can never complain. It just was great. Just every moment of it, I enjoyed it.
Now, I in preparing for this and learning a little bit about your career, a common theme kept coming up in the early parts when you were still, I guess, considered a child actor, was your mother was on the set all the time, and
yeah, all kid actors, their parents were always there. We'd go on an interview, and it's the same kids would be at all the interviews because they were in the same age group and type. And, of course, their mothers were sitting there next to them. And my mom, of course, was there with me. They usually are not allowed on the set. There's a place that they place the mothers, and because they don't want the kids to be distracted and be looking for their mother, they want them to be concentrating on the scene.
right.
That's what your mother, guardian, tries to do, is to tell you that. Now, you've got to listen to them, and acting, I learned, was more reacting. You listen to what they say, and then it sinks in, and then you say your line. You just don't, you see some kid actors, and the person stops talking that they're listening to, and then they just say the words. You don't see anything going through their mind,
Right.
like we all do when we listen to somebody. There's a little burp right there, and we're thinking, how do I want to answer this? And then you do it, because there's a think pattern to it all.
Yep.
So I was very fortunate. People seemed to like that I...
Well, maybe the fact that you were aware of the way that things were done and was the reason that you kept getting these callbacks early on in your career, because you were easy to work with, and you were good at what you did. Whereas I can imagine a lot of your peers that were your age may not have been so easy to work with on these big productions.
Well, they learn that quickly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, oh, the kid was a problem. They're dead.
Right.
Forget them. They just are a problem. So if you're not a problem, you do well. You can deliver a line correctly and react to what's going on around you. And you're not a problem. You'll keep working. And you have to make those transitions. You've got to keep reinventing yourself. You can't do what I did at 7 or 10 on Annie Oakley at 20 because they go, what is this guy, a little slow or something? He keeps falling back on that cuteness, and
Right.
it doesn't work now. So you have to be that next person.
Sure. You mentioned Elvis, Ozzy and Harriet, all these American movie and TV and music icons, but one of the people that you had a long relationship with was Gene Autry. Can you talk a little bit about how you came to know Gene Autry and your relationship through the years?
Yes. Of course, as a kid, we had our local theater, and all the kids go to it on the weekend, see the matinee and the cartoons, news. And then this man comes up on the screen, looks like 60 feet tall, riding this beautiful horse. And immediately I fell for him. I said, boy, if this guy's in control, things are going to be all right. He does things right. He's a very personable guy. Then, of course, I was 10 or so when I first met him. He chose me in a room. It got down to 2 kids, and the head of his studio was there, and 2 or 3 other major players in Flying A Productions owned by Gene Autry. And they came in and talked to both kids and had them in. We didn't have to read lines or do anything, and then they said, okay, thank you, wait outside. And so the other kid had gone in first, and then I went in, and then they said, we'll be right out there. And they talked to them. I said, maybe 2 minutes. They came out and said, you're Tag Oakley. Oh, well,
there
okay.
you go.
So that was like the really first time I got to see the man, and what's not to like? He liked me. So through the years doing the show, I remember the first Christmas we had done the show, and it was on the air. He was throwing his Christmas party at his studio on Sunset Boulevard. And he came up to me and said, the Maskers are throwing a big Christmas party up the street about 2-3 blocks from here. I was wondering if you would go with me to the party. I'm sure all the kids at the party would love to meet Tag Oakley. Oh, sure. I'm like 11 years old. Yeah, great. So he and I went out and got in the car. Of course, he went and asked my mom, is it okay if Jimmy goes with me? Oh, yeah, sure. So we drive up to the Masker Clubs, about 5 minutes from his studio, go in there, and we make our way backstage. And so he says, well, they're going to invite me out and introduce me, and then I'm going to say a few words to the kids and everything, and then I'm going to surprise them and bring you out. And they'd like to meet Tag Oakley. He says, okay? I said, oh, yes, sir. So call me Gene. I said, oh, okay, sir. He's never, he's always Mr. Autry.
Sure.
He's a very nice man. He didn't demand to be called Mr. Autry, but he's your boss, and he's just a very, very nice man with a great sense of humor. And, you could see this guy, we were on tour for like 10 weeks at a time, going to state and county fairs all over the United States. And we fly in his private plane, and you get to know somebody very well sitting across from him. I mean, he'd move his self over a little, and he'd say, here, put your boots up here, and put your feet up and stretch out. Oh, okay. So, and he did the same to me. So, like I said, he was a very generous man. He was good at his word. He just did this with like it's second nature. I mean, of course, he'd been doing it since the 30s. This was late 50s. We were going out. And he knew that I had a certain audience of kids, and then he had the older ones. And so that served his purpose to be
Sure, great partnership.
attraction. And he had rope acts and pole bending acts and line of girls that went out, and he put on a very nice family-oriented show.
Did you have to do a lot of training to participate in that show?
Well, yeah, I had a horse act,
Mm-hmm.
and my horse that I used in the series was mine in the later years, and he was trained.
You can
to
check
do
out all the
tricks.
full interview online at fingerlakes1.tv or on our YouTube channel. Be sure to check back at fingerlakes1.com for the latest weather forecast and local news throughout the weekend. And whatever your plans, have a happy Halloween.